Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty and watched the massive alien station block their path to the stars. The Galactic Council Enforcement Station hung in space like a giant metal spider with weapons pointed at his ship. For 300 years, humanity had been trapped in only 12 star systems, while alien races flew freely across the galaxy. Dr. Lisa Warren sat at her station reading the latest Council restrictions on human movement. The blue-skinned Zilithians, who ruled the Council, had just taken away 2 more systems from humanity, claiming that humans were too dangerous and violent to be trusted with more space. Lisa shook her head as she read the report, knowing it was all lies designed to keep humanity weak. Commander Ryan Phillips received the standard Council warning message that came whenever human ships tried to leave their prison zone. The alien voice was cold and threatening as it spoke through the communication system, telling them to return home immediately or face complete destruction from orbital bombardment. Ryan had heard this message hundreds of times before, but it still made his blood boil with anger. Jake watched alien cargo ships pass through the same space that humans were forbidden to enter. The Council ships carried stolen resources from conquered worlds, while humanity was forced to survive on scraps from their limited territory. The hypocrisy was clear to anyone who bothered to look, but the Council controlled all information that reached the galaxy, so most species never learned the truth about their crimes. In the lower decks of the Liberty, Chief Engineer Amy Foster worked on a secret project that could change everything for humanity. She had been studying captured Council technology for months and discovered something shocking. The alien technology that seemed so advanced was actually built on principles that human scientists had already figured out years ago, but never had the resources to build. Because of Council restrictions, Amy realized that the Council was not more advanced than humanity, but instead had simply prevented humans from developing their full potential. The aliens were afraid of what humanity might become if given the chance to grow and explore the galaxy freely. This discovery filled Amy with both excitement and rage as she understood how much the Council had stolen from her people. The Liberty continued its patrol along the border of human space, watching for Council ships that might try to enter their territory. Jake knew that his people were running out of time and resources, trapped in their small cage, while the Council grew stronger every day. The alien rulers controlled trade routes, food supplies, and access to raw materials that humanity desperately needed. Dr. Warren studied reports from the other human worlds and saw the same pattern everywhere. Young humans were leaving their home planets in secret, trying to find better lives beyond Council territory, but most were never seen again. The Council claimed they were protecting the galaxy from human aggression, but Lisa knew they were simply eliminating anyone who might threaten their power. Ryan monitored Council communications and learned about new restrictions being planned for human space. The aliens wanted to reduce humanity to just 6-star systems and relocate billions of people to make room for Council mining operations. The plan would mean starvation and death for millions of humans, but the Council did not care about human lives. Amy finished her analysis of the Council technology and realized that humans could build better ships and weapons if they had access to the right materials. The problem was that the Council controlled all the advanced materials in the galaxy and refused to trade with humanity except for basic food and medical supplies. This was not an accident, but a deliberate strategy to keep humans weak and dependent. Jake called his senior officers together for a private meeting in his quarters away from any listening devices that might be hidden on the ship. He told them about Amy's discoveries and Ryan's intelligence reports about the planned relocation of human populations. The room fell silent as the officers realized that humanity was facing extinction unless they found a way to fight back against the Council. Dr. Warren spoke first, suggesting that they needed to find other species who might be willing to help humanity break free from Council control. She had studied reports about alien races that had disappeared or been relocated by the Council and suspected that some might still exist in hidden locations throughout the galaxy. Ryan agreed and added that human ships were already secretly exploring beyond their permitted territory, looking for resources and potential allies. The Council believed they had perfect surveillance of human space, but Amy's technology improvements had made it possible for small ships to avoid Detection Amy explained that she could build better stealth systems and weapons if they could find sources of rare materials that the Council had banned from human space. She believed that a small group of ships could potentially raid Council supply convoys and steal what they needed to build a resistance. Movement Jake made the decision that would change the course of human history. He ordered his officers to begin planning secret operations against Council targets while maintaining the appearance of compliance with their restrictions. The Liberty would continue its normal patrol duties but would also serve as the command center for humanity's first organized rebellion against their alien oppressors. The meeting ended with each officer accepting their role in the dangerous plan that could either free humanity or result in the complete destruction of their species. Jake stood alone on his bridge afterward, looking out at the stars that humanity was forbidden to reach, and made a silent promise that his people would either win their freedom or die fighting for it rather than accept slow extinction in their galactic prison. 3 months after the secret meeting on the Liberty, Jake Morrison found himself standing in the hidden mining station called Outpost 7 deep in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The station had been built inside a hollowed-out asteroid and was completely invisible to Council sensors, making it the perfect meeting place for leaders of humanity's growing resistance movement. Colonel Steve Martinez had arrived from the outer colonies bringing reports of successful supply runs between the restricted human systems. His ships had been moving weapons, food, and equipment using routes that the Council did not know existed. Steve's pilots were the best in human space, and they had learned to fly through dangerous asteroid fields and radiation storms that alien ships could not navigate. Dr. Helen Carter stepped forward from her workstation to show the assembled leaders her greatest achievement. She had created a quantum communication network that used principles of physics that the alien species had dismissed as impossible to implement. The Council had always believed that faster-than-light communication was limited to their own technology, but Helen had proven them wrong. The quantum network allowed human resistance cells to coordinate across vast distances without any delay and without any possibility of the Council detecting or intercepting their messages. Helen explained that she had tested the system by sending messages between Earth and the colonies near Alpha Centauri, and the communication was instant and completely secure. From alien surveillance, Lieutenant Katie Brooks volunteered to be the first pilot to test their new stealth ship called the Defiance. Katie had lost her parents and younger brother when Council forces bombed a human research station, claiming it was developing illegal weapons. The truth was that the station had been working on clean energy technology that might have made human colonies less dependent on Council-controlled resources. Amy Foster had designed the Defiance using materials that the Council considered primitive and worthless, but which she had enhanced with human engineering techniques. The ship looked like an old cargo hauler from the outside, but contained the most advanced stealth and defensive systems that humanity had ever built. Amy was proud that every component had been made by human hands using human knowledge on Earth. Administrator Paul Yunzen worked to maintain the appearance that humanity was cooperating with Council demands while secretly funding the resistance through hidden budget accounts. Paul knew that if the Council discovered his activities, they would order the immediate destruction of Earth and all its colonies, but he also knew that humanity was doomed anyway. If they did not fight back, the resistance network grew quickly as word spread through secret channels that humanity finally had leaders who were willing to take action against their oppressors. Captain Dan Price coordinated supply runs using modified cargo ships that could hide weapons and equipment inside normal trade goods. His crews were volunteers who understood they might never return home, but who believed their sacrifice could help free their children. Rebecca Stone worked in underground laboratories developing weapons that could penetrate Council shields and armor. She had discovered that Council defensive technology was designed to stop conventional weapons but was vulnerable to new types of attacks that used electromagnetic pulses and quantum disruption fields. Rebecca's weapons were small and could be hidden easily, but were powerful enough to disable alien warships. Each human resistance cell operated independently with its own mission and territory, but all were connected through Helen's quantum communication network. This structure meant that the Council could not destroy the entire resistance by capturing any single group or location. The network could survive even if multiple cells were discovered and eliminated. Jake learned that the resistance was not limited to military personnel and scientists, but included ordinary citizens, who provided safe houses, transportation, and intelligence about Council activities. Farmers hid weapons in grain shipments, while factory workers sabotaged equipment destined for Council use. Even children helped by carrying messages and watching for alien patrol ships. The most important discovery came when the Resistance made contact with other species that had been suppressed by the Council. The Harmony were artists and musicians whose beautiful cities had been destroyed, because the Council claimed their culture was too inspiring and might encourage rebellion among other races. The surviving Harmony lived in hidden colonies and had been waiting for someone to lead a fight against their oppressors. Seekers were philosophers and scientists who had been enslaved because they asked too many questions about Council authority and the nature of reality. Many Seekers had been killed, but others had escaped and were living in secret, while continuing their research into the true history of the galaxy and the Council's rise to power. Jake realized that breaking the Council's control would not just free humanity, but could liberate dozens of other species that had been conquered, enslaved, or driven into hiding over the centuries. The Resistance was becoming something much larger than just a human rebellion against alien rule. It was becoming a movement that could restore freedom to half the galaxy. The quantum network allowed the Resistance to coordinate with these alien allies and share information about Council weaknesses and potential targets. Helen's communication system was adapted to work with the different technologies used by the Harmony and Seekers, creating a truly multi-species alliance against Council tyranny. Steve Martinez established training programs where humans taught guerrilla warfare tactics to their new allies while learning about alien technology and culture in return. The Harmony taught humans about inspiration and maintaining morale during difficult times, while the Seekers shared their knowledge of Council psychology and military strategies. Katie Brooks completed her first successful mission using the Defiance to deliver weapons to a Harmony colony that was planning to strike against a Council mining operation. The mission proved that human stealth technology could operate undetected in Council-controlled space, and that cooperation between species was possible despite the Council's claims that different races could never work together peacefully. The Resistance was no longer just a human organization fighting for human freedom, but had become a united alliance of every species that refused to accept Council domination. Jake Morrison stood in the command center of Outpost 7, looking at reports from dozens of worlds where Resistance cells were preparing for coordinated strikes against Council targets, and knew that the galaxy was about to change forever. The moment that would change galactic history forever came when Lieutenant Katie Brooks piloted the Defiance through the heavily guarded Arcturus system toward the Council's most secure data facility, the massive surveillance network that surrounded. The system was designed to detect any ship that came within 1,000,000 kilometers, but Katie's modified stealth vessel moved through the sensor grid like a ghost in the darkness. Amy Foster had spent weeks perfecting the stealth technology that made this mission possible, using principles that the Council had never bothered to study because they considered human science to be primitive and worthless. The Defiance used quantum field manipulation to bend electromagnetic radiation around its hull, making it invisible to every type of sensor that Council forces possessed. Kiki felt her heart racing as she approached the data hub, knowing that the information stored inside could expose the Council's crimes to every intelligent species in the galaxy. The facility contained records of every world. The Council had conquered every species they had enslaved and every lie they had told to maintain their power over the stars. Meanwhile, Jake Morrison led a diversionary attack against Council patrol ships near the Vega system, using tactics that no alien commander had ever encountered before. Instead of the rigid formations that the Council expected, human ships moved in seemingly random patterns that confused and frustrated the enemy while allowing maximum flexibility in combat. Commander Ryan Phillips disabled a Council dreadnought by ramming his ship, the Indomitable, directly into the alien vessel's command section. The Council had built their ships for long-range combat and had never considered that any species would be crazy enough to use ramming attacks in space warfare. Amy's revolutionary armor design allowed the Indomitable to survive the collision. While the alien ship's hull crumpled like thin metal DR, Helen Carter monitored the entire operation from Outpost 7 using her quantum communication network to coordinate 13 simultaneous strikes across different star systems. For the first time in 300 years, the Council faced organized resistance on multiple fronts, and their commanders struggled to respond to attacks that seemed to come from nowhere. The most crucial part of the mission was Katie's infiltration of the data facility, which was protected by automated defense systems that could destroy entire fleets. She used a combination of human-computer viruses and seeker philosophy programs to confuse the alien artificial intelligence until it could not distinguish between authorized Council ships, and the Defiance Katie successfully downloaded terabytes of classified Council files, including detailed records of species that the galaxy believed had been extinct for centuries. The data revealed that the Council had not just suppressed aggressive races, but had systematically destroyed any civilization that showed rapid technological advancement or creative thinking that might threaten Council authority. The stolen information included the locations of prison planets where millions of beings from dozens of species were held in slavery, working to extract resources for Council use. The records showed that the Council claimed these worlds were uninhabited nature preserves, but were actually massive concentration camps hidden from the rest of the galaxy. Ryan led his surviving ships in a fighting retreat from the Vega system, drawing Council reinforcements away from other attack sites and allowing resistance cells to complete their missions before enemy forces could respond. His pilots used hit-and-run tactics learned from studying ancient human military history, adapting techniques that had worked on Earth to the three-dimensional battlefield of space. Attack on the Arcturus data facility revealed another shocking truth about Council technology. Katie discovered that their most advanced systems were actually built using stolen designs from conquered species, including early human research that had been confiscated when the Council first restricted human development centuries ago. Amy analyzed the captured Council technical specifications and realized that alien military doctrine was based on overwhelming firepower and numerical superiority rather than tactical innovation or adaptive thinking. This explained why the Council had been caught off guard by human resistance tactics that emphasized flexibility, speed, and creative problem-solving. The resistance strikes were carefully planned to cause maximum disruption while minimizing casualties among non-Council species. Jake had insisted that the rebellion would not become the same kind of oppressive force that they were fighting against, and this principle guided every operation that resistance forces conducted. Dr. Rebecca Stone's new weapons proved devastatingly effective against Council ships whose shields were designed to stop conventional energy weapons but were vulnerable to the quantum disruption fields that human science had developed. Several Council vessels were disabled rather than destroyed, allowing their crews to be captured and questioned about other Council facilities. The interrogation of captured Council personnel revealed that many of the aliens serving the ruling Council were not willing participants but were following orders under threat of punishment or death. This information led Jake to authorize missions designed to encourage defection among Council forces rather than simply destroying them. Katie's successful escape from the Arcturus system with the stolen data marked the beginning of a new phase in the Galactic War. The information she had recovered would be broadcast throughout the galaxy, exposing the Council's lies and crimes to billions of beings who had believed that the alien government was protecting them from chaos and violence. The first coordinated resistance strikes had achieved every objective that the human leadership had hoped for, while proving that the Council's military forces were not invincible when faced with determined opposition that refused to follow conventional rules of warfare. The attacks had also demonstrated that cooperation between different species was not only possible but could be more effective than the Council's forced unity through fear. Helen's quantum communication network allowed resistance leaders to analyze the results of all 13 strikes simultaneously and plan their next moves based on complete information about Council responses and weaknesses. The network had proven itself to be the backbone of the rebellion, providing coordination that the Council could not match despite their superior numbers and technology. As reports of successful missions reached resistance cells throughout the galaxy, Jake Morrison realized that humanity had started something much larger than a simple fight for freedom. They had begun a revolution that would either liberate every oppressed species in the galaxy or result in the complete destruction of everyone who dared to oppose Council authority. The war for the stars had officially begun, and there could be no turning back for either side. The stolen Council data revealed the locations of dozens of species that the galaxy believed had been extinct for centuries, but were actually hiding in remote star systems or living as slaves on Council prison worlds. Jake Morrison made the dangerous decision to contact these survivors, knowing that each attempt at communication could expose the human resistance to Council retaliation and complete destruction. Captain Susan Lee took command of the first diplomatic mission to the quarantine sector, where intelligence reports suggested that remnants of the legendary builders still existed in hidden colonies. The builders had once constructed wonders across the galaxy, including massive ring worlds and space elevators that defied conventional engineering, but had disappeared when the Council declared their technology too dangerous to exist. Susan's ship, the Messenger, used Amy Foster's most advanced stealth systems to penetrate the quarantine sector without triggering the automated defense networks that the Council had placed around the Forbidden region. The journey took weeks through areas of space that were marked on no official charts and were filled with the wreckage of ancient battles. The first contact with the builders came when Susan's ship was suddenly surrounded by vessels that seemed to materialize out of empty space using technology that bent light and gravity in ways that human science could barely comprehend. The builder ships were living constructs that could reshape themselves during flight and were powered by cores that harvested energy directly from Subspace Foundation Stone. The ancient leader of the builder remnant agreed to meet with Susan after confirming that humans were truly fighting against Council oppression rather than serving as another Council trick designed to locate surviving builder colonies. Foundation Stone appeared as a massive crystalline entity that communicated through harmonics that resonated through the ship's hull. The builders had been broken by centuries of hiding and running from Council forces, but the spark of their legendary creativity still burned within their survivors. Foundation Stone revealed that they had been working on secret projects designed to restore their people's confidence and power, but had been afraid to act without allies who could help them fight the Council's overwhelming military strength. Dr. Lisa Warren made contact with the Weavers during a covert mission to the Foldspace region, where reality itself seemed to bend and twist in impossible ways. The Weavers were beings of pure energy who could manipulate space and time, but had been forced to suppress their abilities after the Council declared them reality violators who threatened the stability of the universe. Elder Weaver Flux Thread appeared as a shimmering pattern of light that spoke through controlled gravity waves that Lisa's modified communication equipment could barely interpret. The Weavers had been living in dimensional pockets, hidden between normal space and hyperspace, where Council sensors could not detect them, but where they slowly died from isolation and despair. The most shocking discovery came when Katie Brooks found the echoes during a reconnaissance mission to the Dead Zone, where Council maps showed only empty space and radiation storms. The echoes were the uploaded consciousnesses of an entire species that had digitized themselves to escape Council extermination and now existed as pure information living within quantum computer networks hidden throughout the galaxy. Prime Echo 797 communicated with Katie through her ship's computer systems, creating text and images that told the story of how their biological bodies had been destroyed by Council weapons, but their minds had survived by transferring into artificial systems that could be hidden in asteroid fields or abandoned space stations. Each species that joined the growing alliance brought unique abilities and knowledge that multiplied the Resistance's capabilities beyond what any single race could achieve alone. The builders taught humans how to construct ships and weapons that could repair and upgrade themselves during combat, while the Weavers shared techniques for moving through space in ways that made conventional pursuit impossible. The Echoes proved to be the most valuable allies because they could infiltrate any electronic system in the galaxy, including Council military networks, communication arrays, and even the artificial intelligence systems that controlled their most secure facilities. Prime Echo 797 had been planning revenge against the Council for decades, but had lacked the physical assets needed to strike back. Dr. Rebecca Stone worked with builder engineers to create hybrid weapons that combined human innovation with alien expertise, resulting in devices that could tear holes in reality itself or convert matter directly into energy. The new weapons were far more powerful than anything the Council possessed, but required exotic materials that could only be obtained by raiding. Council Supply Convoys Colonel Steve Martinez established joint training programs where humans taught guerrilla warfare tactics to their new allies, while learning to use alien abilities that had been considered myths or legends by human scientists. The combination of human adaptability with alien powers created new possibilities for resistance operations that the Council could never anticipate. The Harmony emerged from hiding after learning about the Alliance and brought with them the power of inspiration and hope that could motivate entire populations to resist Council authority. Their music and art had been banned throughout the galaxy because it encouraged beings to think for themselves and question the Council's version of truth and reality. The Seekers provided detailed intelligence about Council psychology and decision-making processes based on centuries of careful observation and analysis. They revealed that the Council leadership was composed of multiple factions that competed for power and could be manipulated into making strategic mistakes if the Resistance applied pressure at the right times and places. Amy Foster discovered that the combined technologies of all the allied species could be integrated into hybrid systems that were more effective than any single race's equipment. Builder construction techniques combined with Weaver space manipulation and Echo computer infiltration created possibilities that none of the species had imagined. When working alone, the Alliance faced challenges as different species had to learn to work together despite having completely different biologies, communication methods, and cultural values. Humans served as mediators in many disputes because their psychological makeup allowed them to understand and relate to a wide variety of alien mindsets and perspectives. Jake Morrison realized that the Resistance had evolved far beyond a simple human rebellion against alien oppression and had become something that the galaxy had never seen before. The Alliance represented the first truly cooperative effort between multiple species based on mutual respect and shared goals rather than domination by the strongest. Military Power Foundation Stone began construction of massive mobile battle stations that could carry entire fleets through folded space, while Elder Fluxthread taught human pilots how to phase their ships partially out of normal reality to avoid Council weapons. Prime Echo 797 infiltrated Council communication networks and began spreading propaganda that exposed their crimes to species throughout the galaxy. The growing alliance attracted attention from other oppressed groups, including robot intelligences that had been enslaved by the Council and energy beings that had been imprisoned in artificial containment fields for refusing to serve as living power sources for Council technology. Each new ally brought additional capabilities and increased the Resistance's chances of ultimate victory. Captain Susan Lee coordinated diplomatic missions to dozens of hidden colonies and refugee populations throughout the galaxy, building a network of mutual support and shared intelligence that stretched across thousands of star systems. The Alliance was becoming too large and widespread for the Council to destroy, even if they discovered its existence. The Alliance was no longer just a collection of species fighting against Council rule, but had become a new kind of civilization, based on cooperation, creativity, and freedom that offered hope to every being in the galaxy who dreamed of living without fear of oppression or destruction. Supreme Zilithian Overlord Zethkalar stood in the central command chamber of the Council's greatest battle station, watching status reports from across the galaxy that showed rebellion spreading to dozens of star systems. The blue-skinned tyrant had ruled the Galactic Council for 2 centuries and had never faced a threat that could not be crushed by overwhelming military force and brutal punishment of any who dared resist the Council, assembled the largest fleet in galactic history, bringing together over 10,000 warships from 17 different species that served their alien masters either willingly or under threat of complete annihilation. The massive armada gathered at the Nexus system where the Council's ruling assembly met to plan the final destruction of the human-led rebellion and all species that had joined their causes. Color issued orders to his fleet commanders that no prisoners were to be taken and no mercy shown to any world or population that had supported the resistance movement. The Council's response would be total war designed to eliminate not just the rebel military forces, but every civilian who might carry the infection of freedom to future generations. Jake Morrison commanded the United Rebel Fleet from the bridge of humanity's newest flagship, the Liberation, which had been constructed using a combination of human engineering, builder manufacturing techniques, and Weaver space-folding technology. The ship represented everything that the Alliance had achieved through cooperation between species that the Council claimed could never work together peacefully. The final battle began when Council forces entered the Nexus system, expecting to find the Rebel fleet waiting in conventional defensive formations that could be destroyed by superior numbers and firepower. Instead, they found empty space and sensor readings that made no sense because the Alliance had learned to use Weaver technology to hide their ships in dimensional pockets between normal space and hyperspace. Builder mobile fortresses suddenly materialized throughout the Council fleet as massive constructs that could reshape themselves during combat and regenerate damage faster than enemy weapons could inflict it. The Council ships had been designed to fight other conventional fleets and were unprepared for enemies that could change form and function in real time. During battle, Weaver strike teams bent space around Council warships, causing them to fire upon each other, while their targeting systems became confused by gravitational fields that made straight lines, curve, and distances become meaningless. The rigid tactical doctrine that the Council used for fleet combat became useless when the basic laws of physics seemed to change without warning. Echo infiltration specialists had penetrated every Council computer system months in advance and waited for the signal to activate viruses and logic bombs that turned the enemy's own weapons against them. Prime Echo 797 had personally designed programs that could take control of Council artificial intelligence systems and convince them that their own ships were actually rebel vessels that needed to be destroyed. Human pilots proved to be the most adaptable fighters in the battle because their training emphasized creativity and improvisation over following standard procedures. When Council forces deployed new weapons or changed tactics, human commanders immediately developed countermeasures and shared them with their allies through Helen Carter's quantum communication network. The turning point came when the Council revealed their ultimate weapon, which was a stellar converter that could turn stars into massive energy beams capable of destroying entire solar systems. Zeth Kalar intended to use the device to eliminate not just the rebel fleet, but every world that had supported the resistance, including Earth and all human colonies. Amy Foster's engineering teams implemented a desperate countermeasure in real time using principles they had learned from studying Weaver space manipulation and builder matter conversion technology. The humans redirected the stellar weapon's energy through dimensional folds that sent the destructive beam back toward the Council's own battle stations. Helen Carter's quantum network allowed every ship in the rebel fleet to coordinate their movements and attacks with perfect timing, creating a collective intelligence that could respond to changing battlefield conditions faster than any individual commander could think. The network turned thousands of independent vessels into a single organism that moved and fought with unified purpose. Katie Brooks led a strike team directly into the Council chambers themselves, using Weaver space folding technology to appear in the middle of the ruling assembly where the alien leaders were directing the battle. She activated eco-broadcasting equipment that transmitted the Council's own secret communications and classified files to every inhabited world in the galaxy. The broadcast revealed the Council's true history, including records of countless genocides, slavery operations, and the systematic suppression of any species that showed potential for rapid advancement or independent thinking. Billions of beings throughout the galaxy learned for the first time that their government was not protecting them but was actually their greatest. Enemy Commander Ryan Phillips volunteered for a suicide mission to intercept the stellar converter. When Zethkalar attempted to detonate the Nexus System Star and destroy both the Rebel fleet and the Council capital rather than accept defeat, Ryan piloted a ship enhanced with builder self-repair systems and Weaver phasing technology directly into the path of the stellar weapon. The weapon's energy was captured and redirected by the hybrid technology that Amy Foster had integrated into Ryan's ship, turning the Council's ultimate weapon into a massive explosion that consumed their own fleet while leaving the Rebel forces untouched. Ryan's ship survived the encounter because Echo computer systems had calculated the exact phase variance needed to protect it from the energy. Zethkalar made one final desperate attempt to maintain Council power by activating sleeper agents hidden throughout the galaxy who were programmed to assassinate resistance leaders and destroy Rebel bases simultaneously. The plan failed because Echo infiltration had identified every sleeper agent months in advance and had been feeding them false information while monitoring their activities. The 300-year tyranny of the Galactic Council ended when their military forces surrendered en masse, after learning that their own government had been planning to sacrifice them along with the Rebel fleet. Many Council species had never known the truth about their leaders' crimes and chose to abandon their posts rather than continue fighting for a cause they no longer believed. Supreme Overlord Zethkalar died when his command station was destroyed by weapons that he had ordered built to suppress rebellion but which had been turned against him by the very beings he had tried to enslave. His death marked the end of Council authority and the beginning of a new era of freedom that would spread throughout the galaxy. The Battle of the Nexus became known as the day when cooperation between equals proved stronger than domination by force, and when the dream of galactic freedom finally became reality. The Alliance had not just won a military victory, but had demonstrated a new way of living that offered hope to every species in the galaxy that yearned for the right to determine their own destiny. Admiral Jake Morrison stood before the assembled representatives of 47 liberated species in the Great Hall where the Galactic Council had once imposed their will through fear and violence. The same chamber that had echoed with threats and demands for submission now hosted discussions of freedom, cooperation, and mutual respect as beings from across the galaxy worked together to build a better future for all. Dr. Lisa Warren had established the first truly integrated research stations, where humans, builders, weavers, echoes, and dozens of other species work side by side to unlock the secrets of the universe that the Council had kept hidden for centuries. Their combined knowledge and different perspectives led to breakthroughs that advanced galactic civilization by thousands of years. In just a few months of cooperative effort, the former Council species faced a choice between joining the new Alliance as equals or remaining isolated in their diminished territories, clinging to the faded glory of their lost empire. Many chose integration and abandoned their supremacist beliefs when they saw the benefits of genuine cooperation and the prosperity that came from working with other species rather than ruling over them. Captain Susan Lee headed the new exploration Corps, leading mixed species crews into the unknown regions of the galaxy that had been declared off limits by the Council for mysterious reasons. Without the artificial restrictions that had kept the galaxy divided and stagnant, the rate of discovery accelerated beyond anything that previous generations had. Imagine possible ancient ruins containing technology from civilizations that predated. The Council were found on worlds that had been marked as uninhabitable wastelands. New species were contacted in distant star systems where they had hidden from Council persecution for centuries. Cosmic phenomena that had been studied in secret by Council scientists were open to investigation by researchers from every allied species. Amy Foster's engineering principles became the foundation for all new galactic infrastructure as her philosophy of adaptive design and redundant systems proved superior to the Council's rigid standardization that had stifled innovation for centuries. Trade routes that had been controlled by Council monopolies now flourished with competition and creativity as new ideas spread freely between worlds. Helen Carter's quantum communication network evolved into the backbone of galactic civilization, enabling instant communication across millions of star systems and making possible a level of cooperation that the old council had never allowed. The network connected not just governments and military forces but ordinary citizens, who could share ideas and cultures across vast distances. Captain Dan Price led the conversion of former council military bases into research centers, trading posts, and cultural exchange facilities that served the needs of free beings rather than the oppression of tyrants. The massive resources that had been devoted to maintaining council control were redirected toward exploration, education, and improving life for everyone in the galaxy. Dr. Rebecca Stone continued developing new technologies, but now focused on tools that could help species solve problems and improve their lives rather than weapons designed to destroy enemies. Her research teams included beings from dozens of worlds working together to create innovations that no single species could have achieved. Alone, the most important change was philosophical, as the galaxy learned that diversity of thought and approach was not a threat to be suppressed, but a strength to be celebrated and nurtured. The human concept of individual worth and the right to self-determination spread throughout galactic civilization, transforming countless worlds and cultures that had been stagnant under council rule. Former council officials who chose to cooperate with the new alliance provided valuable information about hidden council facilities and secret projects that needed to be shut down or converted to peaceful purposes. War crimes tribunals were established to judge those responsible for the worst atrocities while offering amnesty to beings who had been forced to serve under threat of death. The liberation of council prison worlds revealed millions of beings from dozens of species who had been enslaved for generations and had never known freedom or hope. Rehabilitation programs helped former slaves adjust to life in free society, while their unique skills and knowledge contributed to the growing prosperity of the Alliance. Katie Brooks became one of the most celebrated heroes of the new era, as her courage in stealing council secrets and infiltrating their most secure facilities had made victory possible. She chose to continue flying dangerous missions into unexplored regions of space where other species might still be hiding from council persecution or living under the rule of local tyrants. The quantum network allowed former council subjects to learn the truth about their history, including the real reasons why certain species had disappeared and what had happened to worlds that had been declared uninhabitable. The revelation of council crimes led to massive cultural changes as billions of beings realized they had been living under lies for their entire lives. Foundation Stone and the builders began construction of new megastructures that would serve as centers of learning and culture rather than instruments of control and oppression. Their ring worlds and space elevators became gathering places where beings from different species could meet and work together on projects that benefited everyone. Elder Flux Thread and the Weavers used their mastery of space and time to establish transportation networks that could move people and goods across the galaxy in hours rather than months, making trade and communication easier than ever before. The barriers that had kept species isolated from each other were finally broken down. Prime Echo 797 helped establish digital archives that preserved the knowledge and culture of every species in the galaxy, including those that had been destroyed by the Council but whose information had survived in hidden databases. The archives ensured that no civilization's achievements would ever be lost or forgotten again. The robot intelligences and energy beings that had been enslaved by the Council were recognized as fully sentient species with the same rights as biological life forms. Their unique perspectives and abilities contributed to scientific advances that revolutionized understanding of consciousness, intelligence, and the nature of existence itself. Jake Morrison reflected on humanity's journey from imprisoned species to galactic liberators and realized that the greatest victory was not the defeat of the Council, but the proof that beings could work together as equals to achieve things that none could accomplish alone. The galaxy had learned that strength came not from controlling others but from freeing them to reach their full potential. Schools throughout the galaxy taught children of every species the lesson that would define their civilization for generations to come. The greatest power in the universe was not military force or advanced technology, but the willingness to treat all conscious beings with respect and dignity regardless of their origin or appearance. The age of the Galactic Council was over, and the age of the free galaxy had begun. The stars that had once been forbidden now beckoned to explorers of every species, and the future was limited only by the collective imagination and determination of beings who refused to accept that any species had the right to limit another's dreams.